In the meantime, we also met with both of our cities in Columbia County. The city of Harlem and the city of Grovetown are both recipients of SPLOST dollars. We're required by law to negotiate with them percentages of the SPLOST dollars that will come to them. We did that a couple of months ago, and city manager I know is here from Grovetown, and we have a great working relationship with both of our cities, and they were happy with the percentages that they ended up with for the special projects that they have. The great thing about SPLOST is it offsets the capital needs of the county, whereas we don't have to spend property tax dollars to buy fire trucks or to build buildings or to build parks or to make all the capital improvements in the county. Again, this is a continuation of a current tax. It is not an additional tax. It is sales tax, so it's paid by everyone that buys something in the county. The list that you have before you today is balanced based on what we think the expected collections are. And the projects are really all over the board. We have a lot of recreation projects, a lot of public safety projects. But the list will be available for the public to review after the Board of Commissioners approves it. Once the board approves the list, tonight, if you pass this resolution, you will effectively call for the SPLOST to be put on the ballot, and we will post the final list, and then we will spend the next several months providing education to the public about the projects. But the project list will be set because we do have to get the ballot language to our Board of Elections next week to be able to make the November 8th ballot. And the public will vote on it November 8th. If it passes, we will start collecting the money January 1st, 2023. If the citizens decided no, it would not pass, then Columbia County would go from from an 8% or 8 cent SPLOST down to a 7 cent SPLOST. But we would not be able to collect the dollars for the capital improvements that we need for the county for at least a year before that could go back before the voters.
Questions?
Things, I know everybody's not happy with the list or whatever, projects together and all, but I think you have to look at the overall. Not be, but some things I think it's very important for us to mention that, like the public safety and fire and all of that, if you don't put that in a SPLOST, certain things we're going to have to do, and it's going to fall on the backs with a property increase. And I think citizens really need to about that and know that, because we get people from all over the world coming in different times of the year that'll help us buy this stuff.
And to your point, Mr. Vice Chair, I know people don't buy fire trucks on a regular basis. They have no idea how much a fire truck costs, but we have a new aerial truck in this SPLOST and a replacement ladder truck in this SPLOST, and both of those are over $1.5 million each to be able to purchase one of those. So again, that one penny adds up, a lot to be able to cover some of these needs. But those are things that we're going to have. We're also talking about building new fire stations to make the county safer. And we need to add fire trucks. So we have to have fire trucks in those stations. So if we build those stations, certainly we have to let them have the equipment. It goes on and on. I mean, we have lots of things in here. And I think one thing that I would point out, this particular SPLOST, and I'll break it down for you real quick. There's a little over $37 million in public safety, $96 million in community services, which is our parks and greenways and those sort of things. $30 million in transportation. That's in addition to our T-SPLOST, in addition to our local maintenance improvement grant that we already have. So that's another $30 million that's coming back to the community for transportation needs in our community. $8 million in broadband, and then $36 million in county facilities. And I know, a new building A, this building that we're in today, has been here since the mid-'80s. It served its useful life. And currently, we don't have a single office available to put any additional staff in. So we're looking at that building. But just wanted to point out that is, the building A is 10% of, actually less than 10% of our total collections. It's just, when you take it into perspective like that, I mean, I think, it certainly tells a story. And then you have some money for economic development. Stormwater is another big issue. People say, we pay stormwater fees, but with the amount of money collected here, we would have to go 30 years of using every single penny of stormwater we had to be able to get to the number that we have in SPLOST. Let me say that again another way. With what we collect in stormwater fees to be able to do projects, it would take us 30 years to get the funding to do the projects that are on this list. So this allows us to fast forward that. There's just not that much money collected for that. So that gives you an idea about where we are. And then, of course, the city of Harlem and the city of Grovetown, they have a lot of needs. They buy vehicles with this. They work on their infrastructure with SPLOST dollars. So governments are pretty dependent on the SPLOST if you live in a community that wants to keep their property taxes low.
I don't mean to hijack this conversation. We have certain areas of this county as very aging stuff you're talking about. Very important, but somewhere, sooner or later, other governments have faced it. All of a sudden, you're dealing with dollars that you have to do. Now you're bonding a project to take care of some of this stuff that falls straight on your.
Right. Right.
Any other questions?
I just want to say that if there's any public here that has any questions, we'd love to hear from you, but we've spent a lot of time going through this list, making sure that these projects are valid and needed. I mean, facilities, transportation, public safety, economic development, quality of life projects that we've spent a lot of time considering very, very carefully. And I appreciate the folks of the staff and my colleagues here that we've worked together to put this list together, and I think it's a great list. Are you ready for the motion, Mr. Chairman?
You're ready.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 22-26 for SPLOST 2328.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Commissioner Skinner.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we got quite a few tonight. Item B1, file RZ 220603. I make a motion to approve the request for conditional use of a convenience store with gas pumps located at tax map 074, parcel 048, subject to the condition enumerated in the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission report.
Second.
Before you get started, my screen, oh, there it goes. I apologize.
Are you good now?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay.
This is a request for a conditional use for gas pumps on the site. This is an existing gas station. However, they do not meet current zoning. They are looking to do some expansion of this site. So when they are this building, this gas station, in doing so, they would have to bring it into conformity with current code requirements for zoning. So this is a conditional use to allow this gas station to stay where it is. Basically how it boils down. There will be a variance coming up to you if you do decide to approve this. The next item will be a variance for this same location.
Questions?
Have there been any questions or comments from the neighbors?
I haven't heard anything from the neighbors.
No.
Motion is second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries.
Okay, item B2, file VA 220605. I make a motion to approve the request for a variance to section 90-147G10B, use provisions for property located at tax map 074, parcel 048, to decrease building setbacks to allow existing gas pumps to remain in place, subject to the condition enumerated in the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission report.
Second.
This site is covered by CPOD requirements. One of those requirements is that gas pumps must be 25 feet away from the property line before the right-of-way. In this case, they're about 21 feet, I believe was the number. So that's a 4-foot variance to leave the existing pumps where they sit and allow this to remain as is.
What is this CPOD?
That's a corridor protection overlay district. The district down Bel Air Road that kind of defines setbacks of buildings, setbacks of gas pumps.
Those are our rules, not a state.
Our rules, our
Okay.
rules.
pumps?
They are adding more pumps to the side. These are the existing pumps here. They are looking to put additional pumps.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries. We have a couple of folks who've asked to speak. Ms. Leanne Usry, the next issue.
Hold up.
Okay, how about Kristen, is it Callaway? You want to speak? Yeah, just come down and just state your name and address for the record.
Never been to one of these before. My name is Kristen Callaway, and my address is 5212 Windmill Place, Evans, Georgia. And I just wanted to come to represent her because she trained under me for at least 100 hours for permanent makeup. I'm currently a permanent makeup artist in the county, licensed by Environmental Health, and I've been practicing for about 5 years. And it is essentially what she is doing is the same thing, just a different type of art. But as far as like cleanliness and all of those things, the environmental health procedures that they require of me as a permanent makeup artist, she's also meeting those same requirements for single needle tattooing. So I just wanted to say, I know her personally and professionally. She provides a great service, and I think she would build a great small business if she's granted this license. Y'all have any questions?
Both of those the same thing? Fatal and
I mean, technically no, but yes, and I'll tell you the difference. One is considered a cosmetic procedure because it's done for beautification purposes. So what I do is called microblading and shading combo. One is done with a hand tool, and it creates the illusion of actual brow hairs. And the shading part comes in with a machine. Sometimes I use a single needle, which is a cartridge with one needle that deposits pigment into the skin. Sometimes I use a cartridge of 3 needles. Depending on the look that you want to achieve, you're putting pigment into the skin. So that's why I say yes and no. One is done for cosmetic beautification restoration, and the other is done just for artistic purposes based on what the client would like to have on their body, I guess. But all the licensing as far as cleanliness and all of that all goes through environmental health, no matter if it's permanent makeup or tattooing. So does that answer your question? Okay.
Probably more than he can.
Eyebrows done, Gary.
It's all putting pigment into
Make
the
'em gray?
skin. Huh? Oh yeah, we do whatever
Already
color,
made them gray.
whatever color you want. But anyway, I just wanted to represent her as a former employer and friend that has worked with her closely and can attest to her quality of work and her desire to provide a good service. Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak.
I do have a question. So currently, the business is permitted to do the makeup, the cosmetic part, but not full-on tattoo body art
Yep.
tattooing. Is that correct?
Yes, so let me explain why I say yes to this. There's 2 different sides of licensing here. She was referencing health department giving you the permit, so the health department doesn't see a difference between doing cosmetic makeup or doing a tattoo on your body at any location. They have rules and regulations that must be followed. Our code has a differentiation in it for zoning only. We differentiate doing cosmetic makeup from doing tattoo art on the body, numbers, graphics, designs on a random part of your body. If you're doing beautification, lipstick, eyes, eyebrows, that does not require a tattoo zoning. If you're going to do body art, you're required to have a conditional use for a tattoo parlor. In this case, she is asking for that conditional use so that she can go be above and beyond the beautification part. If the client requests a butterfly, a cross, whatever they request other than beautification, she has the right to do that. Without the zoning, she can't do that. She can still do the lips, the eyes, the brows, that all works. Can't go beyond that, per zoning. That's what you're looking at tonight. Can she go beyond permanent makeup is a very generic way of stating it. Can she go beyond permanent makeup to doing body art at this location?
So currently, she can do the cosmetic. It's fine. If we say
Can.
no, she can still go on doing business as usual.
Doing cosmetic tattooing only,
So
correct?
this is just taking it up a notch to the.
Correct. Allows her to go beyond the cosmetic part.
And so if we give, the conditional use goes not with the business, but with the piece of property, correct?
Correct.
So if we give this to her and she moves out, then next, like forever, it could be a tattoo parlor.
Until further action is taken by this board to remove that or a new applicant, yes. But yes, until action is taken by this board, it remains conditional use as a tattoo parlor.
With the property.
Correct. Not with the occupant, with the land itself.
And your intent, Leanne, your intent is to do tattoos, not just the,
Please.
yeah, come on up, come on up. State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Leanne Ushery, and my address is 956 Kestrel Drive, Evans, Georgia. And I want to provide my permanent makeup as well as the single needle tattooing in my own private booth that has a door closed away. The health department's already come out and measured the sink and my space, and they've been working with me to get it the way that they need it, and I've followed all the rules. I just want to put anything below the neck and not get in trouble.
Questions?
A few years. Big. All of this meets all of that we dealt with. It was pretty depth. It took a long time for us. And all of this meets the intent of
It will, if you vote to approve the conditional use, correct. I believe that before we did the work you're talking about, it was just part of a zoning. If they had C2 zoning, it could go there, and it was pulled out and made a conditional use, so you would have to vote on every individual tattoo parlor. Again, health department is overseeing, the state is overseeing the rules and regulations of applying it. We are only voting on zoning. That's all this board handles, zoning only.
Sounds reasonable.
Ready for a motion? File RZ 220604. I make a motion to deny the request for conditional use for a tattoo parlor located at tax map 079, parcel 098D.
Second.
Well, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed?
Item B4, file RZ 220605. I make a motion to approve the request for a rezoning from R2 to P1 for the property located at tax map 0728, parcel 086, subject to the condition enumerated in the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission report.
Second?
Maybe we go back 2 slides. The property in question is the one here outlined. They own both, start over. Shaded R2 here was a single parcel. The P1 was a single parcel. They have recently redrawn lot lines to bring that part into the P1 parcel. So the red line you see here shows the current state of the parcels. What that did create was a split zone parcel, P1 in the front, R2 in the rear. They are looking to rezone this rear portion of the lot to P1. So the entire parcel would be a P1 lot. The piece to the rear would remain R2. This will allow them to put a playground behind the Children's Neurology Center. There's a companion variance if this is to move forward. I will present a companion variance next.
Is there a house on the
This piece
that
here,
yellow? Yeah.
there is.
Still meets the R2 requirement.
Any other questions? Motion and second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries.
Item B5, file VA 220606. I make a motion to approve the request for a variance to section 90-139, buffers and screening for property located tax map 072A, parcel 086, subject to the condition enumerated in the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission report.
The same parcel we just discussed, now that this piece here is zoned P1, there is now a buffer requirement between the R2 parcels and that piece. They're asking to reduce that down to a 10-foot buffer. Obviously, they own this piece here, so they don't oppose. We have not heard any opposition from this parcel owner. To reduce the buffer down to 10 foot. Again, this is for a playground to be the backyard in that location.
Already a buffer, and the P1 that's already there.
There you go. That's the, yeah, so your original line was roughly here. There were trees in that area.
Well, what happens if we don't approve? They can't have a playground?
Have to design around the buffer. I think it's 30-foot structural buffer, 30-foot structural buffer, so fence, 30-foot of, I'm sorry, 10-foot of a fence and 20-foot of vegetation.
Questions? Motion and second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next item, I know that someone has requested to speak, Mr. Larry Jernigan.
I believe it's for this.
On the right one?
Longer get home. This is not the right
No,
one.
I'm sorry, next one.
Okay,
Next one.
okay.
I checked the wrong one, sorry. Next one.
Item B6, file VA 220603. I make a motion to approve the request of a variance to section 90-98, list of lot and structural requirements for the property located at tax map 029, parcel 018C, to reduce building setbacks subject to the condition enumerated in the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission report.
Second?
Hey, we go to the aerial on this one. It'll make it easier for me to explain. You can leave it there. So this is the parcel in question is the one here outlined. Is currently zoned M1. They're looking to reduce their buffers along area here down to 10 feet. The parcel below it is a DOT laydown yard. This is where they store a lot of their materials they use for repairs of the state routes around the area of the county. If this parcel was zoned properly, it'd be probably M1, M2 zoning. The buffer between the parcel in question and this parcel would be 3 feet building setback. However, it is a state-owned piece of property. They do not have to follow our zoning requirements. Therefore, it's just it was R2, so RA zoning, which is why the buffers are so big. So the property owner is requesting to reduce the building setback down to 10 feet. And staff is in agreement. Again, if this parcel owned by the state was zoned properly, the building setback would be 3 feet. So we're comfortable with this request.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Is that something we could initiate?
We can do a county initiated rezoning.
Other around it, I think the one on the, go back.
On the zoning page, it shows all the zoning around it. It was close. So if, you know, the RA M1 line along the interstate is roughly there. So if you were to rezone that to an M1 or an M2, still have an RA gap between it.
I think they've had to come twice or something, seems like.
It has been here a couple times. There's a couple properties in this area that have been in for this type of zoning.
Yeah, I'd question whether or not the state would be subject to zoning on that piece of property.
Wouldn't affect what they would do,
Pretty sure our
What
code
we did around
exempted
it.
them from it. I think it did.
Yeah, but something we could look into, for sure.
Next item, Mr. Jernigan.
I think we have one more, Mr. Chairman, I
You gotta be
believe.
kidding me.
You have Commerce Court?
Commerce.
Unless you want to skip one, we can go to that. You have
Lord
Commerce
have
Court?
mercy. Well, I'm trying to give you some knee bends.
I-1B7?
Item B7, file VA 220604. I make a motion to approve the request for a variance to section 90-98, list of lot and structural requirements for property located at tax map 072, parcel 043B, to remove the maximum front setback along Commerce Court, subject to the condition enumerated in the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission report.
Second.
If you'll skip forward to,
Don't skip too far forward.
go one more for me. This is the parceling site. This is, they're looking to increase the maximum setback of their building. If you go one more, Renee, for me. Or one more. There's one that shows the site plan. Okay. The, currently, because this is in the Evans Townsend Overlay District, there is a maximum setback for a building, and it's 55 feet. In order to do this layout that they want to do with the parking in front of the building, and then the laydown of their materials behind the building, they're asking to increase that to 110 feet. This area that this is located is an industrial area. It's kind of an anomaly of an industrial area inside the Evans Townsend Overlay District. Look at the aerial photograph, you'll see that most buildings in there are built the same way, parking and storage in front of the building is set back. They're looking to do the same thing on this parcel, but it does require the variance to allow them to go to 110 feet setback versus the 55 max allowed by code.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Do I dare?
Yes, sir.
You can do it.
Now,
Yes, sir, if you'll just state your,
Opportunity to come before you and speak once again.
yes, sir.
My name is Larry Jernigan. I live at 5225 Parham Road in Grovetown, Georgia. I live next door to the property that the city of Grovetown has bought, and they're wanting to erect a water tower and establish a water office there. And a little bit of my background, I retired from Columbia County Water, 26 years of service. I was chief operator and manager of 5 facilities for Columbia County Water. I held a Class 1 operator's license and a laboratory technician's license for the county. I retired in 2000. Authored the first emergency response programs for the facilities which use chlorine gas in Columbia County. Also established the kill zone and the boundaries in the neighborhoods that were affected by the chlorine gas. Authored the county's initial stormwater retention pond maintenance program, including testing, operation, and reporting test results to the Environmental Protection Division. So I have quite a background in water and water treatment, as well as wastewater. I feel like the proposed office in the water tower in a rural area such as where we live is quite inappropriate for our area where we live. No one in our neighborhood that I've spoken to, and some of my neighbors are here, and 7 of us was at the Planning Commission meeting, were approached by the city of Grovetown with their intentions. And it caught us all by surprise, and no one really knew what was going on until the rezoning sign was put up. And when the city of Grovetown was contacted initially, we were told that it was not anything concrete. It was just something they were kicking around, and there wasn't any plans or anything to look at for us to determine how we really felt about what they were planning to do. Until now, we understand what's going on. There's been no percolation test performed there. There's been no compaction test for the foundation of a water tower. Choosing the location of a new water tower is very important, and it's a difficult task. And engineers must complete a detailed geotechnical investigation to understand the underlying soil properties at these potential sites. One of my main concerns are that myself and all my neighbors use wells in our area. If this tower that they want to erect is established, we're not real sure how that might affect our groundwater wells. That structure, just the water itself, will weigh the 750,000 gallons of water that tank of hold will weigh 6,247,000 pounds. And that's going to take quite a foundation, and I'm not sure how that's going to affect our wells there. Also, the likelihood of something like this failing affects all of us nearby with that much water, and it would be quite costly for us to overcome. Research done on towers across different parts of the country and in different countries have found that land value at times have dropped by at least 10% in land value. The city indicated in their application that they plan on having not more than 8 people on the property at one time. And to operate a water office manned by 8 people seems to be very unlikely. You've got to have meter readers, maintenance department, consumption complaints, new service installations, cutoffs, and all the behind-scene work. And for in excess of 13,000 customers, it seems very unlikely that 8 people can handle that task. So I don't know who's going to have oversight on how many people actually will be on that property, not to mention the traffic in and out, all times of the night, and those kind of things in the property. The increase in noise, especially in the evening hours, sometimes hampers homeowners from being able to enjoy their outside activities that they usually enjoy in a rural area as we live in. The Planning Committee stated in their report that whether the proposal reflected a reasonable balance between the promotion of health, safety, and welfare against the right to unrestricted use of property. Their conclusion was the proposal reflected a reasonable balance. The federal EPA has been looking into uniform regulations for years for water towers. In the absence of central oversight, water storage tanks are one of the most visible and most vulnerable parts of a water supply. Experts estimate tens of millions of people get sick every year from water towers. The EPA has yet to create any specific regulations for their upkeep. In a report in 2002 that was part of a failed effort to regulate storage tanks, the EPA found that as many as 1 of every 4 tanks have serious sanitary defects, and as many as 9 of 10 had minor flaws that could lead to sanitary problems. Which brings this point, hygiene issues. Living next to a water tower may cause hygiene issues, because water towers can become breeding ground for harmful pathogen bacteria, E. coli, and fungus. The bacteria and other germs growing cause the overall environment become unhealthier than other neighborhoods. There's published reports that people that live near water towers become sick earlier and more often than people that live in the same neighborhood that do not live by the towers. And that brings a great concern for me. I'm a COVID-19 survivor. I spent a month in Augusta University ICU unit with COVID-19. I spent 3 months in the hospital, and I spent a month in Swainsboro, Georgia, at a rehab center so I could learn how to walk again from COVID-19. Suffering COVID-19 has damaged my heart and my lungs. I'm very susceptible to diseases now. A lot of the recommendations that the Planning Committee put forward was great. I'm not totally against Grovetown and them having a storage tank. There are ground storage tanks that seem to be much safer than an aerial storage tank. The one I think they propose, I don't know what they say, 100 feet. I don't know if that's 100 foot to the bottom of the tank or 100 feet to the top of the tank. 750,000 gallons of water is quite a monumental effort. And as I said earlier, that's over 6 million pounds, not counting what the tank weighs, the metal structure. Where we live, detached single-family residential use is what's been recommended for our part of the county. They also have the benefit of having civic uses for worship, schools, community centers, parks, and county services, but it doesn't mention anything about Grovetown coming to the county to offer any kind of services, and also agricultural uses of our area. Our area where we live has been a pristine area. Lately, in the last year or so, we've become a major thoroughfare, Parham Road has, for Gate 6 at Fort Gordon now. And the traffic there is very burdensome. I don't have to tell anybody about the infrastructure problems that Grovetown has suffered at different times. And I'm not sure how all of this might come into effect as well. But I would ask y'all to consider all those things. Y'all think about this. And I do really thank you so much for the ability to come and talk to you this evening. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Elaine Matthews is here, and I guess Ronnie Kurt still here? Grovetown? Any questions for them?
I do have some questions for Mr. Kurtz, if I may. Thank you for being with us. He mentioned that it's 6.2 million pounds of water, is that correct?
That's my understanding.
And this needs to be a tower instead of an in-ground facility because of what pressure?
Yes, ma'am. The purpose of the water tank is to be an integral part of a $5 million expansion and renovation of our water line system that we are doing in the city. And the water tank's purpose and its specific location there is to increase the quality and the water pressure that is being distributed to some of those neighborhoods, specifically Somerville and Liberty.
You can't pressurize it if it's not
Correct.
lifted, is that correct? So is this a whole office or just a tower?
So the water tower is going up, and what we are doing is we are repurposing an existing mobile home structure for the use of a annex office, essentially. The majority of the water department employees' permanent office is located at our wastewater treatment plant. This would just be a place for them to do work and supervise what is going on, and then again, as an annex to the main operation.
How many people will be there
At most, it would be 8.
at any time?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And he mentioned his wells. I was under the impression that you would be purchasing the water from Columbia County, not taking it out of the ground. Can you talk more about that?
That is correct. We will continue to purchase the water from Columbia County. And what is occurring here is that we will be connecting this 2 lines that are tying into the existing.
How will it affect their wells?
I don't foresee how it would.
Question was out there.
There, perhaps at a future build out, we may do something as a storage area in the rear, but that is not at all what anybody is attempting to do at the moment. Where there are 2 structures currently on site, we're going to tear down the permanent home, construct the water tower, and then simply repurpose the home structure for this office type use.
How close is it to the nearest home?
The exact specific location of the water tower has not been 100% confirmed. We're going to go out there, and a lot of the engineering concerns that Mr. Jernigan spoke to, our engineer is already planning on attacking once we get the clearance on the site and going through all of that. I know that the frontage of the property is approximately 300 feet wide, and it's typically best practice to try to give it a fall zone to where it wouldn't fall into anywhere but within the own confines of that boundary. So I would presume, all things being equal, that would be a consideration when citing it exactly.
Where's Mr. Jernigan's home on this?
It is the one to the left of
That's just
the
correct.
property. if you're
Gotcha.
looking at- it's right here, I believe.
It wouldn't be in his front yard, but would certainly be able to see it.
Yes, ma'am, it is a 100-foot tall water tower. However, one of the conditions that the county proposed that we are more than amenable to is to maintain and preserve a 30-foot structural buffer on either side of the property running down those rear sideline, or side property lines.
And why do you need our permission to do this? Why do you need the county? If this is inside the city, why?
It's not inside the city,
Oh,
this is
okay.
county property, and you, as the sovereign entity, are the ones who have to bequeath us the ability.
This is about zoning specifically, not about the water tower itself. It's about
About
the
zoning, it's granting an S1 zoning for this piece of property, which will allow them to put a water tower on it.
Hours do we have?
A lot. I've never counted them. Stacy is at a conference this week. He's not here to answer the question.
How about the rate of
Doesn't-
how about the rate of failure?
We've never had one fall.
Not in my career. We've not.
Because they're all in neighborhood, or close to neighborhood.
They're in populated areas, absolutely. We have several that are right in the middle of neighborhoods, you know, Bel Air Road is
The road.
that's a large one. One thing we have learned from our water towers is providing a retention pond on site, so when you drain the tower, water has somewhere to go. It doesn't just flood your neighbors. I would recommend if this goes through, you invest in a retention pond to drain the tank. We learned that from the School of Hard Knocks, that sometimes you have to drain the tanks. Inspections, do repairs. That water has to go somewhere.
That's something we need to put in the condition.
That's probably not a bad idea.
So I can speak to that. Our engineer has actually recommended that we drain it through the rear side of the property into an existing detention pond in the Liberty Hills subdivision.
Is that the one we see back here? Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am, right here.
Oh,
An
okay.
existing retention pond there that our engineer has stated has the capacity to handle any drainage flow, and it would follow the natural outflow of water across the back end of the property into
How soon are y'all trying to get started?
We probably would not break ground for about 2 years.
You mentioned something about susceptible to diseases around a water tank. Matt, tell me about that.
I have-
What would be,
I have not looked into that. That was the first I've heard of it. Again, I'm not dealing with water every day, but I would assume it'd be due to all the moisture around the area. I'd have to look into it. I can't answer that one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But I will say this, when he first started speaking of it, I thought it was more towards the maintenance of the tank not being done properly and contamination getting inside the tank, which is then fed into the water system. Then he mentioned that neighbors tend to get sicker, which
right,
I don't know if that's due to the proximity of the water tank or if it's due to outside circumstances such as groundwater, mosquitoes, wildlife, doing things around the, I don't know that, so
and there's been no report of sickness around our water towers
not that I'm aware of. I've never heard
that
of
would be
anything.
mentioned.
I have not.
Yeah.
Questions?
Thank you all.
Heard the discussion, so is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the request for a rezoning from RA to S1 for property located at tax map 063, parcel 138, for a proposed water tower and office space subject to the conditions enumerated in the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission report.
Second.
Any other discussion? Motion and second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries.
File B9, RZ 220702. I make a motion to approve the request for a major PUD revision for property located at tax map 082D, parcel 072, 073, and 074, to revise the permitted use for the existing quadruplexes within the Petersburg Square development, subject to the condition enumerated in the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission report.
Second.
This is a county-initiated rezoning. This is got quite a history to it. Back in 1984, this zoning came to the board for approval as a PUD. You can see the layout there. Development started on this PUD. It involved building some quadplexes. 1987, there was another rezoning done to change out the front area here that are highlighted to a professional zoning, versus the quadplexes. However, in 2008, when building plans were submitted, the 1984 zoning was referenced, not the 1987 zoning was referenced, and therefore we allowed a quadplex to be constructed on a professional site. Later on in 2008, it happened again. 2015, a zoning verification letter was requested from the county. We referenced the 1984 zoning in that zoning verification letter. 2017, a plan came in, and at that point, staff found the 1987 zoning and said, you can't do this because zoning is this. They were able to produce all the records where the county had told them yes all these years. And therefore, the county staff said, you're right, we've been telling you yes all this time. You can build your quadplexes. Here recently, a new owner has bought this. They asked for a zoning verification letter, and the current staff that's in place now saw it, brought it to me, and I said, we can't do that. We cannot write them a zoning verification stating they are in compliance with zoning. They are not. I did ask staff to initiate a county, initiate a rezoning so that we could revert back to the 1984 zoning that has been followed from day one. So the request is to go back to the 1984 zoning that was originally approved and that was followed for the construction of all these projects. That will do is if they were to lose one of these three quadplexes up front and have to rebuild, they would be able to be rebuild. If one were to burn down today and they came and tried to get a new permit, we would have to tell them no because they do not meet zoning. Not fair to them. Gave them permits, we gave them okay to do this the whole way through. We don't know how the 1987 zoning file was missed all those times, but in 2018 it was found, and that's when we realized that we had done wrong and we need to fix it.
But if nothing happens to these, no big deal.
Sorry, go ahead.
Place and
They wouldn't be able to get a loan, I think is the problem. The lender isn't gonna loan the money unless they know that the collateral is secure, i.e. if it burned down, that it could be built back again. That's the issue right now.
somebody has already bought them or somebody is trying to buy them.
They're in the process of. They're asking for that zoning verification letter, and I couldn't give it to them because they do not meet zoning. Basically, what we're asking to do is to zone it, revert back to the zoning that is currently built. It's built the way it was zoned in 84, but it's zoned professional. I know it's confusing. There was a lot of parts and pieces that went into this. So 84, it was zoned for these quadplexes. 87, it was changed to professional, but we allowed it to be built as quadplexes. Prove this rezoning back to the 84 zoning, everything's kosher. Nothing changes, everything is all built out. The entire section is built out. Nothing left to build. If something were to happen, they could rebuild as it sits today. Does that make sense? Did I confuse everyone thoroughly? Because I'm sure
Well, you mentioned it was an error on the county now.
on the county,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Permits were issued, and they should not have been.
Okay.
In the 80s.
In the
In the
80s.
eighties,
And
yeah.
then again in 2008, but again, that staff is no longer here. It is a complete new regime, and that will not happen again.
Righty. There's a motion second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Carries 4-1.
Okay, item B10, file RZ 220703. I make a motion to approve the request for a rezoning from R3 to C1, property located at tax map 082A, parcel 080, subject to the conditions enumerated in the July 7th, 2022 Planning Commission report.
Second.
Request to go from R3 to C1 on Vaughn Road. You see the parcel there. If you go to the zoning page, Renee, you'll see they are surrounded by C1 and C2. Across the street, you do have some P1 as well as R3. This is a spec building. They will have to either tie to county sewer per health department or do a upgrade to the existing septic system. If they do go with septic system versus county sewer, it will really limit what they can do in this building. Spec tie to county sewer if possible.
I have to agree. I believe that would be the highest and best use of this property, gentlemen.
I'm just concerned that the commissioner, vice chairman's got COVID over here.
No, sir, that is not. I did test the weekend just to make sure of that, sir.
That's not a HIPAA violation, because you said it right.
Right.
Okay,
But I didn't want you to be,
I was already moving over. I'm sitting in Commissioner Skinner's lap. There's a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Any legal matters?
No legal matters.
No requests for review by committee. Any public comments or participation? Executive session, I believe we have one item, Hardy McManus widening project that we could deal right here, right now. So,
yes, sir.
Vice Chairman, if you could,
Off, sir. Make a motion to approve $51,000 to C.W. Harrison, tax map number 5016B, 1,000 to Derek, tax map number 5014A, $1,600 to Jeff and Chandler Rogers, tax map number 065016E, 1,900. Kelly Jr., tax map number 1,800 to Michael Lowen, tax map 1,800 to Scott and Melissa Fitzgerald, tax map number 5026, $11,200 to Robert and Monica, tax map 06501, right of way and or easements for the widening project.
Second.
Only 120 to go.
oh, thank you. Motion and second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. One other item that needs to take place.
Yes, sir. Motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. We're adjourned.